Hello teachers, learners, and parents. Sir Jeff po, at your service. Alam nyo ba na meron tayong website na tinatawag na DepEd Commons? Ang DepEd Commons ay binuo upang gawing accessible ang pagtuturo at pag-aaral dito sa ating bansa gamit lamang ang inyong mga smart devices gaya ng cellphones, tablets, at computers. Dito ay maaari nating ma-access ang iba't ibang learning materials mula sa Department of Education. Meron itong mga interactive materials, electronic self-learning modules, at instructional video lessons mula sa DepEd TV na tiyak na makatutulong sa pag-aaral ng mga mag-aaral galing ka man sa public o private school. Walang problema dahil welcome ang lahat dito. Para ito sa mga guro, magulang at mga mag-aaral mula sa kinder hanggang grade 12, Alternative Learning System o ALS, at pati na rin ang special education. At huwag kang mag-alala dahil kahit walang load ay maaari mong ma-access ang mga learning materials. Tama! Libre ito. Ang kailangan mo lamang gawin ay i-on ang iyong data at buksan lamang ang iyong browser at i-type ang commons.deped.gov.ph. Alam na ba ng iyong mga kasamahang guro o mag-aral ang tungkol sa DepEd Commons? I-share mo na ang video na ito upang matuto rin sila kung paano gagamitin ang DepEd Commons sa mabilis at napakadaling paraan. Muli, ito po si Sir Jeff at kita-kits po tayo sa DepEd Commons. Paalam!
Magandang araw, Sir Wilbur po, at your service. Narito ang ETUlay upang gabayan ka sa inyong pag-aaral upang lubos na maunawaan ang iba't ibang paksa o subject. Ang ETUlay ay isang free online tutorial class na pinangungunahan ng ICT's Educational Technology Unit sa pamumuno ni Undersecretary Elaine Del B. Pascua. Ang programang ito ay hindi lamang para sa mga bata, kundi ito rin ay magsisilbing gabay sa mga magulang at mga guro kung paano nila ituturo o gagabayan sa bawat asignatura ang kanilang mga anak o mga estudyante. Sa kasalukuyan, ang self-learning module mula sa rehiyon ng Calabarzon at kilala sa tawag na Pivot ang ginagamit sa ating ETUlay online class. Kaya ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Ihanda na ang inyong mga ballpen o lapis, papel o kwaderno at samahan kaming itulay ang pagkatuto para sa bawat batang Pilipino. Sama-sama tayong magtutulungan para malampasan ang mga hamon sa panahong ito. Halina't matuto kasama ang inyong online tutor sa oras na ito.
Hi learners, ETUlay Tuesday is Choose English Day. I am Tutor Jamie and I will be guiding and sharing insights on creative nonfiction. Let us now turn the wheels of our creative minds as we gear up our imagination in telling our stories by writing literary pieces in our most creative way. By the way, I would like to congratulate our learners for completing the lessons for creative nonfiction fourth quarter. Yes, we are done. But our journey in creative nonfiction is far from conclusion. We still need to do a lot of practice in writing. And because of that, the remaining weeks for our ETUlay, may dumaan na, I don't know what's that. Remaining weeks for our ETUlay sessions will be used for reviews of our lessons. Ayan. For this afternoon, we are going to take a look back and recall the different types and forms of creative nonfiction, particularly autobiography, memoir, and personal essay. There are a lot of types and genres of creative nonfiction. But for this afternoon, we will dwell on the types and forms, the characteristics of autobiography, memoir, and personal essay. Ayan. Okay? But before that, let us first take a short review quiz. Teka. Oh, by the way, shout out to all the faculty and students of both junior and senior high school of Caloocan City Business High School, headed by our OIC principal, Dr. Ivy Perez, Also to Ma'am Angelica Joyce de Los Santos, Teacher 3 of CCBHS Senior High School, for letting me use the resources I have for today. I also would like to greet our local government unit, our city mayor, Oka Malapitan, na happy birthday po, sir. Also, syempre, a shout out to my nephew, Yusuf Ali Mohammed Saif Al-Rashdi, who just turned 1 today. See you soon. Ayan. Okay. So, let's work on a short review quiz. Short lang to kasi ilang mga 5 or 4 items lang siya. So that we can like look back on what we had or we discussed last week. Ayan. So, all we have to do is to read each question and then we comment the letter of the best answer. So I will be encircling the answer, the correct answer, or the correct, the best, the letter of the best answer, and then all you have to do is to comment the letter or the answer itself. Yeah. So let's go with number 1. Ayan. So, which of the following characteristics of nonfiction states that there must be an equal treatment of truth and creativity? Again, which of the following characteristics of nonfiction states that there must be an equal treatment of truth and creativity? Is it A, accurate, B, balanced, C, creative, or D, inspiring? Ayan. So what could be the correct answer? So when last time we talked about the characteristics of nonfiction, what makes a good nonfiction uh, stand above other genres or stand above other counterparts, no? So we have shout out po Salvi Mira Arellano. Hello po ma'am. And then we have an answer. Carl Henry Damaso, sabi niya letter C, creative. Okay? Let's wait for other answers. Good afternoon po. Thank you po for um, uh, joining me today. Ayan. So the correct answer to this question is letter B, balance, no? So again, with creative nonfiction, we have 2 aspects there. We have creative and we have nonfiction. So we have truth and we have creativity. So we always have to make sure that there is a balance between those two. If we dwell too much on the creativity, our truth may be sacrificed and we may end up like having difficulty in establishing the credibility of the story. If naman we dwell too much on the truth, it may be too um, straightforward and we may lose the aspect of being creative or telling the story in a creative way. So there should be balance. Okay, good. Next, number 2. Which of the following reminds a creative nonfiction writer the use of literary techniques to create vivid and engaging story? Is it A, accurate, B, balanced, C, creative, or D, inspiring? Which of the following reminds a creative nonfiction writer the use of literary techniques to create vivid and engaging story? Accurate, balanced, creative, or inspiring? Let's see our answer. For this question, our answer is letter C, creative. So again, since we are correct answer, Carl Henry Damaso. Thank you. So again, since we are creative nonfiction writers, we have to, of course, we have to tell the truth, but we have to do it in a creative way. Because sometimes in that creative way, we build rapport, we build inspiration to our readers. Ayan. So we have to be creative. And with that, we have to use literary devices, figures of speech there. So number 3, which of the following best distinguishes creative nonfiction from fiction? Is it A, accuracy, B, balance, C, creativity, D, inspirational? So which of the following best distinguishes, meaning what makes it which of the following makes a characteristic makes creative nonfiction different from fiction? We have an answer from Carl Henry Damaso. We have letter D, inspirational. Okay, let's see what's the correct answer. The correct answer is A, accuracy. Yan. So, um, both fiction and non-fiction articles actually have balance and inspirational. There is also a bit of creativity when it comes to non-fiction kasi there is also a structure being followed when you write in a non-fiction article or non-fiction work. But with creative non-fiction, what makes it different, really different, no? But the best element that makes it different from fiction is that its accuracy. Because with fiction, it may be based on facts, on events. However, there is not the part where the accuracy comes in is not that given importance. But with creative nonfiction, there is always have to be accuracy. Okay, there. Next, number 4. Which of the following attributes to creative nonfiction for having an interesting topic more than entertaining? Which of the following attributes to creative nonfiction for having an interesting topic more than entertaining? Is it A, accuracy, B, balance, C, creativity, D, inspirational? Okay, they answer letter B, balance. Yeah, that's for number 4. Okay, so let's see the correct answer. The correct answer is letter D, inspirational. So you see, for the creative nonfiction, actually, both fiction and creative nonfiction has to be inspiring. Everything has to be inspiring, even other literary works. No, it always has to be inspirational because in the first place, that's one of the main objectives and aims of literature. We have to Literature has to give inspiration to people. No, so there has to be a message, there has to be value, there has to be a lesson for people to use as inspiration, and they can apply with their everyday life. Yeah. So there. That's for number 4. I think tapos na tayo, no? There. So again, we have this objective for today. Thank you for participating to all our viewers and our learners. Let's have this objective again. Recall the different types and forms of creative nonfiction, particularly autobiography, memoir, and personal essay. Again, this is just a review of what we had in our previous sessions of ETUlay because according to Melks and all other resources, we are done with our creative nonfiction. So we are just dwelling into recalling past lessons para syempre we would not easily forget what we had learned. Ayan. Okay. So the first type of a creative nonfiction, I would like to have this as CNF kasi it kinds of giving it a little uh, parang fresh pakinggan, CNF, 'di ba? Yan, types and forms. Okay, so autobiography is, we all know that it's a narrated biography of oneself or a person's life story. So the author of an autobiography is the person or the writer himself or herself. No, that's what makes it different from a biography. Of course, we all know that a biography is a life story of someone written by someone else. So we have to always remember that difference. Okay, so let us have an example of an autobiography. I got this from the website. It's actually from www.quezon.ph. No, I happened to I was searching for like famous autobiographies and stories and samples. And then I decided, why not, since we just celebrated our 126, I think, freedom, no, Independence Day. Correct me if I'm wrong. Uh, why not try to give, or to have the life story of someone, a hero or a significant person who had been instrumental in our in keeping our freedom until today. Ayan. And like the fathers of our country. So we have the autobiography of Manuel L. Quezon, of our President, Commonwealth President Manuel L. Quezon. Okay. This autobiography is actually from a privileged speech that President Manuel Quezon has delivered in the Senate. And I happened to just get the part wherein he is uh, telling the story, or starting to tell the story about his life, or what he had gone through when he was just a young boy. But this is actually from a privileged speech wherein he had like a debate or an issue with a senator. No? So hindi ko na sinama yon because it's something irrelevant dito sa lesson. Okay, so I had this, and let me read out to you the parts where I got. And it's important that we read this part, because this is where the focus on his life is. Kasi with the whole, if you happen to see the website, and if you happen to see this article, you would see, baka makita nyo parang iba yung ano niya, yung introduction niya, because you would see like paragraphs pa. Medyo malayo na to doon sa naka-post na privilege speech. Ayan. Okay, let me read this to you. This is an excerpt from autobiography of Manuel Quezon. I was born a poor man, the son of a school teacher in one of the smallest towns in the Philippines, Baler. My father had, besides his salary, a 2-hectare rice land which he cultivated. While I was a boy and during my early youth, my father saved as much as he could. Wait lang po. Ayan. As much as he could from his meager salary and from what he could get from his rice field, only to have a few hundred pesos with which to give me an education. During those Spanish days, a Filipino family could live in a small town on 4 pesos a month and a supply of rice. Thus did my family live for years. When I was at the age of 5, an aunt of mine started to teach me to read and write. My own father and mother and the priest of the town later gave me a primary instruction. At the age of 9, I was brought by my father to Manila and began my secondary education at the San Juan de Letran College. First, I lived in the convent of San Francisco, serving as a room and mess boy for one priest, receiving no salary except board and room. I could not stay too long in this service because, being too young, I could not do my work as room and mess boy and at the same time study and go to college without hurting my health. I was then sent by my father to the house of an aunt where, for some pesos, I do not know how much, I roomed and boarded. The house was located in Paco, too far from the walled city for him who could only use his own feet as a means of transportation. My classes started at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I had to get up early to reach my classes on time. Again, this impaired my health, and the following year I was taken by my father to San Juan de Letran as an intern. As an intern, I remained until I graduated as AB with the highest honors. By this time, the savings of my father had all been spent on my education. He owed money and simply told me I had to stop my studies unless I could work my way through university education. I came to Manila and spoke to my Dominican professors who by this time had become very fond of me and told them of my situation. I wanted to be a lawyer, but could not pay for my expenses. They secured a position for me as one of the helpers in the University of Santo Tomas with room and board and free tuition. Thus, I was able to take up the study of law. Before finishing my law course, the revolution came, and soon after, the hostilities between American and the Filipino forces had started. I joined the Filipino Army and took part in the war. I remained in the field until I organized resistance to the authority of the United States and had been wiped out. I came to Manila penniless and sick, was put and kept in prison by the United States Army for 6 months. After my release from prison, I stayed in the house of the Alberts, who had become my good friends during the revolution. With them, I stayed without paying for my room and board for some time. There, I fell sick and was admitted free of charge at San Juan de Dios Hospital. Thanks to the good offices of my Dominican professors and the generosity of Bishop Alcocer, then the Metropolitan of Manila. For a long time, I was in the hospital until Dr. Singian, the famous surgeon, brought me to his house to live with him free of charge and to be taken care of by him until I got well. Ayan. So that is the excerpt from President Manuel Quezon's autobiography from a privileged speech. Mind you, if you happen to stumble with the site, I would really recommend that you finish the whole article because it's so moving. It actually gave me insights of what President Manuel Quezon has gone through. Na kasi we know him as someone who is like, 'di ba, parang gwapong-gwapo tapos talagang formal na formal, and then parang talagang ang very dignified yung kanyang itsura, not knowing this part of his story or this part of his life. And baka mamaya itanong nyo, so what if we know the life of President Manuel Quezon before he became president? This actually gives us inspiration. No, this actually gives us that in spite of all the circumstances that had happened, at mas mahirap pa nung panahon na yon, President Manuel Quezon still has risen and has like graduated with honors, or like had the highest honors, and has proven that in spite of his of the circumstances that he had, he can still do, and he can still work, and he can still help people. And eventually he became the president of the Commonwealth government of the Philippines. And we all know how the Commonwealth has given benefit to our country. So these are the facts about President Manuel Quezon's autobiography. And I have, kasi nga hindi kompleto yung nilagay ko kasi it's really it's quite long. However, it's justifiable why it's long kasi talagang very moving siya. And then these are the facts that I have gathered from the part that I have showed you. So the first one is that President Quezon was born in the smallest during that time town, which is in Baler. And then he is a son to a teacher, which is actually relatable to me because I'm a teacher. We are all teachers, no? Most of us are teachers. And we are actually working as as if I may say, working with learners. So this is very relatable to us. We don't know this. I speaking for myself, I don't know this about President Quezon. Some may, but since I just read this one, I related to this situation of President Quezon. No, a son to a teacher who also owned a 2-hectare rice land. Therefore, his father was a farmer. And in effect, since syempre, pag sa during that time, pag nandun ka nakatira sa town, no, sa probinsya, of course, you are also expected to help in your parents' work, 'di ba? There. And next, got his primary education from his father, mother, aunt, and the priest of town. This is very justifiable because his father is a teacher. So his primary education mainly came from or was given by his parents, his aunt, and priest of the town, which is, of course, during that time, is still under the Philippines is still under Spanish colonization. Yeah. Started his secondary education in San Juan de Letran College at the age of 9. Look at the accuracy of this point. It's actually related to the event wherein giving giving what makes it credible and what makes it accurate is because during that time, San Juan de Letran is one of the colleges or one of the schools that are actually existing, no, during that time, like the UST, and then here San Juan de Letran College. So if this is like a make believe, so parang mahirap pagtagniin, mahirap ipagdugtungin. Ayan. 'Di ba? At the age of 9. And this is actually remarkable because secondary education during that time at the age of 9, President Quezon may have had really a brilliant mind. Okay? There. Next, another fact is that President Quezon was a brilliant working student. So from the excerpt that I have read, it shows that madalas nating naririnig, nabasa natin na working student siya. He would study, but then he would work as a room and mess boy. Yon. And then he received a lot of help from professors and priests who got fond of his brilliance. No, so he became he earned the fondness, no, the interest, and the his professors and and the priests during that time have all liked his performance, no, as a brilliant student, no, his dedication for work and dedication to really finish his study. His health, although ito yung medyo isa rin sa nalaman natin with that autobiography, that his health often suffers, but it did not become a hindrance in pursuing his education. Okay? And then another is that before he finished course in law in UST, University of Santo Tomas, he joined as a soldier in the revolution against the US and was imprisoned for 6 months. Again, um, a connection to the event that had happened during that time. There was really a revolution, no? There is a mention of a specific university which actually exists, no, long during those times, long noon pa, no, University of Santo Tomas, and also the imprisonment in 6 months. Ayan. So if you would like to pull in more research, we would find credibility on this. There. Ayan. Before that, let me also share to you dun sa nabasa ko after reading the autobiography. Ano pala si President Quezon, we really learned a lot from him. Ano siya, anong tawag niyan? Before, even he was not able to really formally finish the course in law in UST kasi nga he joined the revolution. He became a lawyer in the barrio. And what's fascinating and what's remarkable about this president is that when he was a lawyer in the barrio, he would charge hefty fees to people or to his clients that are rich. Yung mga mayayaman na would consult him as a lawyer, he would really ask for a hefty amount for a fee. Pero with the poor clients, hindi siya sumisingil kahit isa kusing. Which is really remarkable of him, no? Kasi 'di ba parang uh his motive is his intention is to really help the poor families or the poor people during that time, using his talent, using his skill, his knowledge in law. O, 'di ba? Parang very inspiring, very ano. That's the effect of autobiographies in the readers. Okay, there. And I've also haggled some autobiographies worthy of reading. One is Long Walk to Freedom, an autobiography of Nelson Mandela. This autobiography is actually the story from nung bata pa talaga si Nelson Mandela to his journey, kaya nga Long Walk to Freedom, because um, kinuwento niya rin yung imprisonment niya, and then when he became one of the champions of freedom in South Africa, until yung yung makuha niya yung independence, or yung freedom na inattain niya for his country, no? And we all know Nelson Mandela, no? Next, we have The Story of My Experiments with Truth, an autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi. Of course, we all know Mahatma Gandhi, the champion of freedom. And we know that Mahatma Gandhi, he is known for his hunger strikes. That every time there is an issue, there is a world issue, he would always declare that everything can be solved with democracy, or with yung mag-uusap, with good conversation, no? And then hindi kailangan daanin sa dahas. Yun ang laging paniniwala ni Mahatma Gandhi. That's why he is always famous for him not eating, no? It's like his prayer. He's a Hindu. However, his take, or his treatment of being Hindu is different from the normal. Okay. And also we have I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. This is an autobiography of Maya Angelou. We may have heard Maya Angelou. She is actually an author, an American author, an African American, who is actually advocate for feminism, and for equality of gender and race. And okay, so that those are the autobiographies that are worth reading. Next, we have memoir. So it's memoir is means memory. Okay, memory, and it focuses on a brief period of time or series of related events. Okay, let me have an example here. When someone you know and love dies, your life changes, and it is the change that fuels your grief. You can't call them or see them like you used to. You can only smell their cologne on the clothes that still hang in their closet. But when it's a fetus that has died, or a baby, or whatever you want to call it, your life doesn't change. And that's the strange part, because it was supposed to. This is an excerpt from I Was Pregnant and Then Was It by Laura Turner. The memoir, Laura Turner is actually telling the story of how she got pregnant, and then she lost her baby. This is actually touching kasi um, many women undergo a lot of depression, excuse po the term, a lot of struggles when they undergo such condition, no? And this would be a good example of a memoir, because unlike autobiography kasi starts from the beginning of or as long as naaalala niya yung buhay niya nung pagkabata niya up to the time that he chooses to tell. So maybe up to the part wherein he or she was able to reach his goal, or reach his dream, or his ambition. Hanggang dun siguro. Pero mahaba ang autobiography, no? But with memoirs, mostly maiksi lang. I actually saw a website wherein ang content niya is a 6-word memoir. And I checked it out, and it's actually cool kasi yung title niya 6 words lang talaga, hindi lumalagpas. And then you start your memoir there. which is actually very inspiring and very parang motivating siya, no? You don't need a long narration for your memoir. For memoirs, what makes it different from other types of creative nonfiction is that you get one memory and then you tell your story about it, what you have gone through with it. One example that I have showed you the previous sessions when I had this is yung um, uh, the writer tells his her experience about the pandemic, how she has managed to survive COVID-19 kasi nagkaroon siya. Tapos ano yung mga naramdaman niya during that time, and it's very vivid and very descriptive. So that is one memoir. Hindi kailangan yung buong buhay, just one part, just one memory, and then you write it creatively into a story that you, depending on how you would want to tell. Okay, and then we have literary journalism or reportage. This form of creative nonfiction types and forms comes closest to newspaper and magazine writing. Not really journalism na straightforward. We would see this as like an article in the newspaper wherein there is a featured story, no? There's a featured story. It's just that literary journalism ang nilagay because most of the time we see it in journalistic in media, no? In newspaper, in magazine. Sometimes it's adapted into documentaries. Here is an excerpt from the newspaper article entitled "The Catholic Rebels Resisting the Philippines' Deadly War on Drugs." So let me read it to you. After he was taken to a police station and beaten for the better part of a day, Santiago was led back into the streets and shot multiple times, suffering wounds to his chest and arms. Thinking him dead, one officer approached Santiago and placed a pistol next to his hand. Santiago waited, barely breathing as blood pooled around him until he heard the hurried sounds of journalists arriving at the scene. He sat up, pleading for his life and waving his blood soaked arms in surrender. By the next morning, local newspapers had already assigned Santiago a new name, Lazarus. Okay. So in this excerpt, this is para rin siyang nagbabalita, but what makes it different from news, kasi syempre straight news ang straightforward ang news, no? What makes this different is that you see the descriptions, it's really vivid. You can actually picture what is happening to the character in the story. And paano na-check ang credibility nito? Uh, this may have been based on a news, no, a news article, no, na mention naman dyan. By the next morning, local newspapers had already assigned Santiago a new name, Lazarus. So this is based on a news story, and then nilagyan lang ng twist creatively. Also, yung gumawa nito, the one who wrote this, may have, or he should have, or she should have researched on this particular incident. Tapos, binibase nila yung story doon, making it appear. And of course, this is posted on the newspaper or maybe a magazine. Okay? Next is personal narrative. So personal narrative is a prose narrative that relates personal experience, usually told in the first person. Now, how is this different from a memoir or from a diary or from an autobiography? The personal narrative, different from memoir, is that this is mostly from the term personal, and yung interest ang focus nito. Okay? The interest of the person telling the story. Let me show you an example. This is an excerpt from Keep an Eye on the Sky. Softball is just not my game. I have a knack for always getting hit in the head by the ball. It doesn't matter where I'm standing, the ball just seems to find me. My teammates gave me a glove and put me away out in the field. I didn't complain. I just wanted to make sure I knew my gym class ended so I wouldn't be left behind. Nothing happened the first 3 innings. Well, things happened, but not in the little part of the softball field. I started daydreaming. The next thing I knew, I heard the sound of a ball whizzing through the air. I put up my glove to protect my hand, and an amazing thing happened. I caught the ball in my glove. Not only did I catch the ball. So, may kasunod pa yan. So, softball is actually like a baseball pero mas may difference dun uh, sa sa device o sa mga gamit nila dun sa bat and dun sa ball and of course dun sa glove. Okay? And of course the rules of the game. Ayan. So, this is a personal narrative looking at it. So, para siyang memoir, 'di ba? Kasi it's like a memory lang. To tell you the fact that you can have several personal narratives in a memoir. So, ibig sabihin, mas maiksi to kesa sa memoir. And of course, you can have a lot of memoirs in an autobiography. So, meaning, an autobiography would cover a lifetime of events, while with memoir, it's just a memory. A memory, an experience that you would want to talk about. And then, mas mahaba siya. More than 1,000 words. With the personal narrative, it's a narration of a personal experience told in the first person, and then mas maiksi siya compared to a memoir. Ayan. So halos nagkakapareho lang. It's just the matter is the difference is that on yung length niya, and most of the time the point of view, how the story is being told. Next week we will review other creative nonfiction types and forms like travelogue, reflection essay, true narratives, blogs, and testimonial. Before I end, let me read this quotation from Victor Hugo, the author of Les Miserables. Inspiration is everywhere. Carry a notebook. Okay, so yun ang sabi ni Victor Hugo. We have to carry a notebook. We have to expect that we can see a lot of inspiration anywhere. And with that, see you next week for another ETUlay online session. Stay safe and God bless.
Sigurado ako na marami ka na namang natutuhan sa ating ETUlay tutorial session ngayong araw. Tandaan, ito ay hindi lamang para sa ating mga mag-aaral, kundi pati rin sa ating mga minamahal na guro at mga magulang na kaagapay natin para maituloy ang pagkatuto sa kabila ng nararanasang pandemya. Patuloy ding sumubaybay sa DepEd TV para sa mga araling ginawang video episodes. Mapapanood ito mula Lunes hanggang Sabado, alas 7 ng umaga hanggang alas 7 ng gabi sa inyong mga telebisyon. Abangan bukas mula 1:00 ng tanghali ang iba pang aralin sa ating ETUlay free online tutorial session sa Filipino. I-like and subscribe at manatiling nakasubaybay sa ating ETUlay tutorial session sa DepEd Edtech Unit FB page at Educational Technology Unit channel sa YouTube at sa DepEd Tayo at DepEd Philippines social media accounts. Paalam!